All right, and we're back. This is going to be round 3 with Andy against Bill. Bill is playing Emir P. Blastotick.
And I am excited. Blastotick, the mad bummer of Fridays. So many people have been taken down by this nonsense.
I have played this deck. I have played against this deck, and this deck is insane. I have seen Bill generate 12, 13, 14 Ember in a single turn with this deck. So I like Andy. I don't think he's gonna do well.
Unfortunate.
Yeah.
You need certain characteristics if you want to beat Blastotick.
This is very true. And you know what? I think Andy's gonna prove me wrong. I think he may get it.
I don't recall what the results were.
I have them in front of me, and I don't want to.
Yeah, don't spoil it.
Yeah, we're gonna watch and we're gonna see, and this is gonna be entertaining. Bill just starting off with an amazing hand. I saw the 2 Dew Fairies, the Dust Pixie, and the Vigor. If I were him, I would just stick.
So, as we can see, based on the little chain tracker cards, Bill has 3 chains on it, which means that in a previous event, well, there's various ways you could get that number, but in a previous event, we happen to know that Bill got at least 3 wins.
Mm-hmm.
So, pretty good night.
Yep, and I believe one of those wins was against me. That was a game that taught me that when I'm playing against racing decks, there's absolutely no room for a mistake. Bill playing the Howling Pit right away. The Howling Pit is an artifact that lets each player draw an extra card during their draw step.
I don't know what the lore for the Howling Pit is. It looks a bit like it's related to the library, the Great Library of Logos.
So the Howling Pit, I think, is a tongue-in-cheek reference to an old Magic card called the Howling Mine, which essentially did the same thing. It said, you know, during each player's draw step, they draw an extra card.
Ooh, fascinating.
Mm-hmm. It's always entertaining to see some of the influences of Richard Garfield's previous work show up in this game.
Oh, the people behind Keyforge, not only just Richard Garfield, are experienced card game players. The game is full of references.
Absolutely. Andy playing an Imperial Trader, which does absolutely nothing against Bill, unfortunately, because Imperial Trader is a card that targets specifically Sanctum cards. I also think that's the first time we've seen that card played in this tournament. Lab work going down. Let's see what he archives. Interesting choice.
Huh? Frees up a hand slot, right?
It does. It absolutely frees up a hand slot.
Even if that's the only use you're planning to get out of it, because you're going to pick it up right on the next turn or whatever.
Well, if you had 3 Untamed cards in hand, and say 1 Logos card or 1 discard, would you stash away one of the Untamed cards or one of the ones that you only have 1 of? And that's just an interesting little conundrum that I often find myself in.
I understand. Yeah, makes a lot of sense. In this case, it looks like he was planning to use up his discards.
All right. Bill grabbing 3 Fates. I think in this deck, that was just going to get either played for the Ember right away or discarded immediately. Bill does not have a lot of high-powered creatures in this deck.
Succubus, Schuler, and Snurge.
Those are all 3 great cards to see. Unfortunately,
Oh, Snudge is what I was thinking of. Man, every disc creature to me is just Snudge, whether it's the ability or the name, apparently. Yes. In the last session we were talking about, who was it? Not Snudge. The gas one, who makes you drop a card from hand.
Toxin.
What was his name? Toxin. Yeah. I thought the Toxin had Snudge's ability.
Ah. Bill riding a wormhole into a lab work. Interesting. Throwing his Hunting Witch into archives. Looks like
he's banking up a lot of Untamed in there.
Yeah,
What is he hoping to do with his Untamed list? Maybe he's building up for the best Hunting Witch turn that he can get.
And it looks like he's gonna get it. Niffle Ape, 2 Dew Fairies in hand, plus a Vigor, and something else I can't see.
Now, Andy does have a bait and switch somewhere in his deck. And Bill has enough reputation now that it's possible Andy knows what to expect from this.
Mm-hmm. Yep, if I were Andy, I would absolutely just sit there and try and cycle cards through my hand as fast as possible to get to that bait and switch, knowing that Bill is going to get all sorts of bursty with his Ember. Looks like that missing card we couldn't figure out was a Mimicry. This could be very unfortunate for Andy.
That is an interesting factor about Archon Knights and having a reliable face show up Friday after Friday.
Mm-hmm.
Is that you get to know what it is that they play, what it is that they bring, and you can start to specialize against each other. That's called the local meta. Keyforge is built around knowing that those tend to grow. Those tend to become a thing.
Looks like Bill mimicked 3 Fates, destroying Andy's lineup, and he's going to make a huge move as far as Ember is concerned. I would not be surprised if he throws down a key charge as well, just getting a key and saying, forget you. 2 Dew Fairies going down. This game is not going to take too long.
Well, he can only do that once, right?
No key charge. He does have Dis, so he could potentially have Hysteria.
Taking a look at his list. There's some things he can do.
Yeah. He just drew into a Nature's Call. If I were him,
dirty.
Yeah, I would absolutely just reap with everything I have.
So a problem that Andy is in this right now, something to do with this, is that he needs to take out that Hunting Witch somehow, because you don't want to have a Hunting Witch out. But then, you know, the Dew Fairies are also priority targets.
Yep.
And Andy just doesn't have a means of slugging out that much damage.
This is definitely one of those points where one of his Poison Waves would have come in handy and done just a lot of good work for him. Yes, Bill would have got his amazing turn, but all of his tools would have been in the discard pile.
Yeah, just 6.
So if you have a Hunting Witch on the board across from you, and you say have a Succubus out like Andy does now, would you find any value in just going Dis, just to run the Succubus into the Hunting Witch and play maybe one other card?
No. You see, that's what we were talking about with knowing what's in your deck. We know that he has 2 Poison Waves. There's really good odds of him getting a Poison Wave, and that would solve the problem. So better to get as many cards out of hand as you can. Yeah, Bill's going to get some progress. Yeah, it's a gamble, because they might both be on the very bottom cards.
Mm-hmm.
But I think we have time to at least take one shot at it.
Bill gaining 4.
Or maybe we don't. Look at that.
Yeah, Bill gaining 4 Ember just off of his 2 Dew Fairies.
He's not done yet.
Playing Inca. Who is he going to stun? I would go for Naughty.
Yeah, Naughty can steal.
I think if I were Bill, I would be really sneaky. I would run that Niffle Ape into the Shadow Self and then heal it with Vigor.
Okay. For one. And get rid of those two. Yep.
Interesting play.
Did he not re-put that Niffle?
He did not reap with that Niffleape.
Tisk tisk, Bill. You don't have enough amber. That was one more you could have had.
I think it's very interesting that he didn't capitalize on the Nature's Call that he had in hand. Or the Vigor. He could have gained 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 more Ember this turn.
True, but he does have a huge amount of amber now. He doesn't really need to go way over the 2 keys. What he needs to be considering, I suppose, and this is something that may have come up because he played this deck a number of times, is responses to the things that Andy might do.
Mm-hmm.
So cranking out, I mean, you only need enough amber for your 3 keys. Cranking out above that doesn't necessarily win you the game.
This is true. Typically, when I will play against a deck that has bait and switch, I will start doing some really, really weird math. You know, I will typically run myself up, if I can, to enough Ember where if I get bait and switched, it doesn't matter. And I find that every now and then that will actually stop an opponent from doing that. Or from baiting and switching me. Bill,
going for the mind games, demoralizing them. Your best weapon, the most overpowered card in the game, does nothing to me.
I mean, there's a little bit of that. Do we know if Andy has forged a key yet? I see Bill with 2.
Bill does amber control.
I see Bill with 2 keys. I see Andy with none.
Oh no.
Yeah. Bill just oh, Andy. All right, so Bill has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 Ember. This is that weird bait and switch math I was talking about. Even if Andy has it in hand, it will not do him any good because it will still leave Bill with enough Ember to forge 1 key.
So what do we do about this? It's all just heart of the cards at this point. What do you happen to have?
2 hands and the ability to scoop and thank my opponent for a good game. That's what I would do. Let's see. Andy looks like he has a Shadow Self, a couple other cards. It looks like he's looking for answers. I don't think he's finding any. This is the most depressing fan in the whole game. Fan your cards 3 or 4 more times looking for the answer that's not there.
Well, you do have to check, you know? Sometimes you'd be surprised. There's a way that you can gain some extra cards.
Yep.
Going D's.
So each undamaged creature captures 1 from its opponent, so you capture 3.
Andy capturing 3. Bill capturing 3.
Just a few more to go.
Bill still at 7.
If he could have done 1 kill, his pile of skulls would have gotten at a 6.
And there's the game.
All right.
That was delightfully fast.
So furious, Bill.
3 cards down. Where's it at?
So what is it? Bill has been defeated before with this deck. There are certainly vulnerabilities, but in certain matchups, it just goes.
Yeah, and Bill is really adept at playing this deck. He understands that he needs to squirrel his Untamed away to make that turn as big as possible and to just kind of demoralize his opponent as fast as possible.
I believe that night, Bill made it to the finals. It was against Jessica, I believe. And she stopped him.
No, you are thinking of last week's Archon, in which he took on a relatively new player, but one who I think is fairly good. And she was able to take him down because she got her key abduction to fire. Key abduction, something you typically don't see firing too often.
Yeah, I was thinking about the round with Zaylee, where she and Jessica were the top places.
Mm-hmm.
Is that the one?
That's the one.
I was pretty confident that Bill was in the running for the finals on that one.
He was. He was playing Zaylee.
Oh, so it was Zaylee who took him down.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Bill was talking about decisions made in that match. So.
All right. Thank you for watching. We'll be right back with the next one, so stick around.